Hey Sanj, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Unbounded Pod. It's been a while since at least I personally done this, and I am super happy to start off, the whole series again with you. This time with a very little change in vibe. We used to be very space focused before, but now it's kind of like say SaaS and genuinely just trying to address the prospect of creation. Somebody who's just cool enough to just go out and build something, however simple it might be, right? And on that note, I wanted to, sit and have a real good chat with you because you're somebody who I looked up to personally at my time at SuperOps. You seem like a very genuinely curious and intuitive person. And now you've also went out and built Supermeme.ai, which I think is insanely cool. We'll come to that a bit later. But yes, on to you now. Just go ahead and introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about what Supermeme does, right? And then we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks, dude. Thanks a lot. Yeah, great to see you as well. It's been a while. And yes, I think even back then we had a chat that, hey, we should be doing a podcast. And then,
Right,
we after a while, I just forgot about it. And I'm glad that, I'm able to do this now.
right.
Nice,
Awesome.
nice, nice. Yeah. So, I'm a product manager at SuperOps.ai. So I started my career in support, did sales for a bit, and then product marketing, and now a product manager, kind of exploring different paths.
Right.
And I believe that's kind of what everyone should be doing in their first 10 years, because our system doesn't prepare you to decide what you like doing, right?
Mm.
So that's where I am. And with Super, excuse me, Supermeme.ai, we're an AI meme generator, and basically for anyone using memes to promote themselves, and
Mm.
that could mean their personal brand or their company brand.
Right.
So what we realize is that a lot of people want to create memes, but creating memes is not very enjoyable. Like, it's the
Right.
sharing part that brings you joy. So we
Right.
just want to remove friction, from the entire meme creation process. So that's Supermeme.ai.
Awesome. I think we'll jump a little bit on how Super Meme does and all that after this follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it very curious that you mentioned, the first 10 years, spending the first 10 years of your life, exploring and all that. So do you have like a tech background? Are you from computer science or coding?
Yes.
Okay,
I
cool. But
mean, I think there are two different questions. I am from a computer science background, but no, I did
Mhm.
not learn how to code.
So did you have like a very fixed idea of what I'm going to do? Let's say the first 10 years is going to be purely for myself. I'm just going to play around with anything and everything I could find. And, then I'll maybe, see what I can do. What was your whole approach? Did you like split decades and then say, this is what my main goal for this decade is? And then you went about it? Or, because again, I think many people will relate to what you have to, the general notion is that people who are starting out are building something cooler from IITs, IIMs, and other foreign institutions and all that. But I think I am personally able to very much relate with you because you are from, I think, Anna University, right? You picked up something new, and then when you started out, SaaS was very, very new and growing in India. And then you got to where you are now. So, what was your idea and thought process behind this whole spending time in this thing?
All right. Yeah. So just to clarify, I am not from Anna University, but I'm from a
Right.
college which is affiliated to Anna University. So I just want to
Okay.
clear the. I mean, because Anna University is a big deal. Like, at least,
Yeah. Yeah.
when I got out of school, like, if you get into Anna University, you're like one of the cool
Right.
kids.
Okay. It
So
just makes the story a lot more
yeah.
relatable. Go on.
So yeah, I think all this is in retrospect, right? I mean, this whole notion of me saying that, okay, I've been saying this for a while, but it's only in the
Right.
last couple of years that I've said,
Right.
okay, you need to take your first 10 years to figure out what you're doing. Because when I started out, you don't have a lot of choice. Like, I got placed in college, and that's pretty much the easiest route to, like, in any job. But that took me to Hyderabad, and I spent about 6 months trying to deflect that, to seeing if I can get a job in Chennai. But that's actually when I realized it's actually hard to get a job. It's not
Right.
like, you could go out there, give interviews, and get jobs. It is very hard. But so I finally resorted to the fact that I am going to move to Hyderabad. So that happened, and then I moved to Bangalore for 2 years, and that's before SaaS, right? That was in Capgemini. So the goal was to move back to Chennai. I had no idea about SaaS. Even when I actually joined Freshdesk, that's what it's called then, I had no idea about SaaS. So I had a support background, so I applied for a support job in Freshdesk, got in, and I had the opportunity to move to pre-sales. So I instantly jumped on it because I am naturally curious, and I want to do different
Mm.
things. And I remember there was a brief period in pre-sales where so back in Freshdesk, there used to be something where you could actually code a little bit in the product. So it's not like mainstream coding, but it's a little bit of coding, right? So I remember fighting with my manager that, I think I found my calling. I want to be a developer.
Right.
And thank God that my manager kind of put sense into me and kind of put me on the current path, which led me here. I mean, I do like coding, but I don't think I would have made a very good, like a full-time developer. So that path kind of led me down pre-sales, a little bit of talking to customers, getting that bit of knowledge, and then that slowly escalated to me writing blogs, me going to conferences and presenting, which again is a natural extension to product marketing. So that happened, and I think once at some point in pre-sales, I discovered this function called product management, and I realized, that is something that looks really really interesting to me, right? Because I thrive in ambiguity, I thrive in chaos, and that job seems to have full of it. So I kind of made up my mind that's where I want to be. But looking back, I think I wouldn't have been able to decide this 10 years ago. I think each step had a part to play in me deciding the next step. And the reason I say you take first 10 years is because our education system, right? It doesn't prepare us to decide what you want when you step out. So you have to go through different experiences to kind of land on what you think you really want. And see, I'm nearing 10 years. Like I started working 2013. So I'm like nearing 10 years. And even now, I wouldn't confidently say I found what I want. But I know that I'm getting closer. And as long as that happens, I'm happy.
Right. It's like the waterfall technique they say in the program management. Like you don't draft 10 steps and say, this is how we are going to go about it. It's like you finish one, and then that will maybe help you see a little bit more on what you have to do next, and then you go on and do that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Awesome. And as you say this, I recall, a time in Superops when I used to come at 8 a.m. or 8:30 in the morning, and you're already there at the office, and you have a couple of like printouts that you read and you underline. I'm like, okay, what is this guy doing so early in the morning? Like, and why is he reading, most of all, right? I just wanted to ask, like, and it also resonates and correlates with what we are trying to do now and what you just said. From your role at support to product management, I think it's a really cool growth. There's multiple stages of development, and it's been exponential. It's not very linear as well. So what's your idea of learning? How you've ought to learn if you have to improve, and you've definitely done that. So how do you pick things up? How do you approach that whole learning curve aspect to anything that you choose to do?
All right. So there are, I think I just follow my gut, which means that whatever I'm curious about, I just like go down that path. So I don't remember what I was reading when it's probably a research paper on something, because I like picking out like abstract research papers, because the kind of knowledge that you get in books is pretty common, right? But if you go down the path of, let's say, going to Harvard's or Stanford's the research papers, downloading them and trying to read that, it's very hard. I don't think I was very successful in understanding, but it opens up a different perspective, and that kind of leads you to something else. So that's probably that's again the Uber kind of layer is that I follow whatever is curious at that point. It's not like I have a plan to say that I want to learn this and that. But now, I think luckily for me, the job that I was at always is interesting. I think even when I was a kid, I kind of decided that computers is where I will spend most of my time. And I've gotten to work with technology all my life. So anything in technology naturally interests me. So I try to understand more about it. Try to understand what other companies are doing. I try to look at what people who I look up to, or I want to emulate. I understand what they are doing. So it's just that path that I follow. So I think to me, learning is basically anything new that you're experiencing. So that could mean grasping new knowledge. That could mean doing something completely different from what you've done. But as long as you're getting to experience something new, I think at least I would consider that a learning.
So playing the game for the fun of it,
Yes.
as opposed to always trying to win or achieve something big.
Totally. Learning is an outcome, it's a byproduct. That's the way that I feel. If you keep learning as a goal, or if you keep, let's say, anything that is attainable as a goal, right? Two things will happen. One, you'll never get there. Two, once you get there, you won't know what to do next. So that is not a fun way to lead life.
And it's also interesting because a lot of the things that we look up to and we are inspired, probably because of social media or whatever, people achieving very, very big things, doing all cool stuff, and the recognition, the fame, it's all a virtue of the process and the work that they put in. And you don't say I want to become famous and then do something. You do something out of interest, and becoming famous or earning more money, it's all like a virtue of it, right? I think we've got
True.
it the other way around. At least I personally did, a long time back. But then I realized, a lot, and I also see a lot of books behind you. So
Oh
case in
yeah.
point. So what's like your favorite book? We'll have a fun question here and there as well.
Okay. So the most recent favorite book of mine is called Humor Seriously.
Okay.
So it's basically the niche that I'm trying to develop, the business humor. So I found that someone actually wrote a book about it. So that book is about how you can use humor in serious situations like businesses, along with
Right.
proof points, like
Right.
places where humor has really helped. So there is a line, not a line, I think a chapter about the book where humor can be helpful in negotiations. So when I read that, and it kind of validated the path that I'm on, because I think that is kind of what that's an intersection I'm trying to find. Like, can I
Right.
use humor in so-called serious situations to kind of communicate an idea? So that is the recent favorite book, and
Right.
that is the one book that I've been gifting to people. So now that I'm on this podcast, so I'll commit to gifting that book to you as well. So I want you to read it.
Awesome. No, I was planning. I
Yeah,
was just noting something down, the book
yeah,
name, and I
yeah.
was going to ask you about it.
That's
Cool.
it. Thank
I'll
you
wait
for
for your.
having me on the podcast. So definitely.
Awesome. I'm genuinely happy, man. But yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up. What Super Meme does is also kind of like an intersection to business humor. And if you just dive into the product and if you see all the categories, it's pretty much, it's not too random, but it's in a sense it comes under business, like product management, marketing, agile, and all that fun stuff. So was it because of that? Did reading the book somehow give that spark, or just talk about the whole process of how you'd come up with the idea? What happened? How did it start? And yes, then we'll take
Okay.
it from there.
Yeah. So I mean, I forgot when I read the book. I think it was somewhere around the same time, but
Right.
I don't know if it sparked it. But okay, Supermeme.ai, the actual AI meme generation wasn't my idea. So it is
Mhm.
actually Ramshree, one of my other co-founders. There are actually three of us who are building this. So there's
Right.
Ramshree, who's like an NLP wizard. He's already bootstrapping one more side project called QuestGen.ai. So he's already like,
Question.ai.
he's already making revenue from there. And the
Right.
other person is Nico. Nico's from Netherlands, and he has a
Mhm.
side project called Ship SaaS, which is basically a SaaS boilerplate.
Mhm.
So I met Ramshree through a LinkedIn creators program. So LinkedIn has this thing where they identify a few creators and put them on a Zoom call, like a
Mhm.
community where they get learn from each other. So that's kind of where I met Ramshree. So I was doing something called MemeDB, which is basically a template repository. So the
Right.
problem that I was trying to solve is when you're thinking about a template, like you have to remember the name. For example,
Mhm.
there is a template called Angry Chopper or
Right.
American Chopper, if I remember. But how many
Right.
people? I spent like 30 minutes trying to look for it, where I just needed
Right.
two people arguing. That's all I needed, right?
Right.
So the idea is to categorize templates by emotion, so that you don't have to go look for the actual name. So
Mm.
Ramsey saw that, and I saw him building a AI meme generator where you can upload any image and that will turn that into a meme. So we
Mm.
kind of combined our ideas, and Ramsey already knew Nico, so he decided to
Mhm.
bring him on board as a full stack app developer. And three of us got on a call. I think somewhere around like early Jan, and that's
Mhm.
when all three of us are meeting for the first time.
Right.
So that's how we knew. So we're all like digital natives. So we got on a call, and we aligned, and I think our roles are also pretty clear. So I was bringing in the meme intelligence. Ramshree was bringing in the AI and the NLP part, and Nico was bringing in the entire app, the full stack app, right? So that really helped, and from there it is just a matter of we put something out there. I spoke to 5-6 people. So I spoke
Right.
to Sriram from SuperOps as well. So he
Right.
also posts memes, right? So I was
Right.
trying to understand, okay, what do these people need help with? Because what we realized is there are many concept products, right? For example, there are AI meme products out there which will just create an AI meme, but then you'd go there, you try it out, it proves a concept. But
Mm.
what we really wanted to do was create a value product, like
Mm.
create something that people can actually use and get value. Ultimately,
Mm.
end up paying. You'd only pay for things that you find value
Right.
from.
Right.
So we were very clear from day one that we want this to be a B2B focused product, because that's where the money is. And we,
Right.
we even narrowed it down to marketing teams, because we know that
Right.
marketing teams have a lot of budget. So
Right.
we targeted social media marketers, but the actual product itself can be used by anyone in the company.
Right.
Like, you could use it to generate memes for a blog post, for a presentation, even for internal marketing, right? So it is targeted towards marketing teams who are looking to create memes, but then they are stuck. They don't know how, or the creation process is has a lot of resistance that they're not doing it. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where we want to take it. And yeah, we're at a stage where we have about like 1,000 signups in a month, and that's a really good place to be. But yeah, I
Right.
think we still have to we have our ways to go. We have to talk to people, get feedback, and make sure that we get it to a point where it is being used by a lot of people to generate memes that they post on
Right.
LinkedIn or on the internet. So that's where we want to be.
Right. No, I genuinely love your clarity of thought and the way you express it because I was going to ask how the product it materialized from its very crude idea stages to actually putting it out as a product and all that. Right. I think it's really hard work. You even identified the persona and you're talking like you genuinely wanted to target these people. And it's pretty cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to share my screen and try to
Oh,
pull the product
nice.
up. We'll we'll just dab with it for
Okay,
people who are actually seeing this.
nice.
Yep. So yeah, another okay. You can see my screen, right? Maybe you'll also
Yes.
make another video every podcast
Oh
to
yeah,
end.
it's on my backlog. Like
Right. Awesome. And yeah, okay. Already, I find this to be very, very pleasing to the eye and insanely fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say get started. Yeah, and I've already created an account, so I think
yeah,
it's jumped directly into the product. And yeah, it's very, very neat. It's very, very intuitive in the way it works because I mean I didn't there isn't really a learning curve or anything. I mean you can just come in and everything is already here, right? I'm just gonna select a theme for everybody who's listening. What do we pick, Sans? I think we'll pick.
uh, what like product management because
Yeah, you are a product
yeah,
manager.
it always cracks
Okay,
me up.
and I'm just gonna pick from the template, and let's say, okay, what do we pick? I think this looks funny. We'll just use this.
Yeah,
Okay, and I'm just gonna say generate. So I think you get like 20 credits to for the free version when you sign up and try. Ah, right. So we already have a meme here. It says a product manager confusing a bug with a feature, and I think a lot of people will who are into that will probably get it.
yeah,
Oh, and we also have like it's not just one
two
meme.
more.
We
Yeah,
have
it's like three meme.
right, right, okay, and I can just choose to download it. Awesome. I can edit this as well, and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say add an exclamation mark and say save. Okay, awesome. And cool. Oh, I can save it. And if I do, let's see what happens.
So you have a
Okay, it's
saved
saved.
memes on top
Right,
so the idea is that you're a social media manager and you have to schedule memes for the entire week, right? So just like spend
right,
30 minutes, go through the activity, upload your own images, pick something,
right,
whatever. Just save it so that every time you have to post something, you come here, click, like save whatever, and just like
right.
share it. So you don't have to go through the process of creating it again and again.
So can I edit it from the saved part?
Not
Okay,
yet. I
that's
mean,
not
those are
okay.
good things. Like we'd love to add. But yeah, I think the core flow is simple because given that all three of us are doing it as a side project, so I
Right,
mean,
right,
we're forced to build an MVP. It's not that like there are so many things that
right,
we want to do, but we had
right.
to ruthlessly prioritize because time. I think for us is the most we're short on
Hmm.
time because all three of us have something else going on. But
Right,
we definitely want to get to a point where like this adds value. So we're
right,
prioritizing the minor things, but yeah, once we have enough users, and right now we have a paying customer who's already
right.
complaining about this, right? So he's saying that
Ah,
I have 100 memes and I'm not able to organize it, I'm not able to categorize it. So now we know
right,
that okay, this is the real problem. Like starts to
right.
come out.
Awesome. But I think it's insane that somebody is actually paying you to,
Yeah,
create memes when you look at it from a third person's perspective. But I see the value in it, right? And yeah, you've got plans and all that as well. There's monthly, yearly, yeah, standard subscription, SaaS, and all of those things. I think all your learnings kind of like played,
yes,
and all this cool. Again, we reach to the home, and you can do the whole process, all again. So I think we'll close that. But yeah, it's genuinely fun, and I've just been showing it to anybody and everybody who I can find, and
thank
a
you.
lot of my colleagues are just going crazy about it. It's like, who is this guy? Why is because a lot of them actually recognize you from the parody videos that you make
Mm.
and all that as well, right? And I'm like, okay, I know him. He's one of my colleagues and all that, and that's pretty cool. But yes, and I'm so glad you also brought the whole, idea of time management and how you have to like manage your full-time job and then try to build something like this and put it out. So how do you manage? How do all three of you manage? In fact, I mean, building out something like this while managing a full-time startup job, it's already demanding.
Hmm.
So how does that happen?
I think for now, because again, I've always been kind of a person who will draw energy from different places, right? Like if
Right.
I have a good side project going, I'll draw energy from there and I'll do well, like in my main gig. And if I have something like something exciting at work going on, I'll draw energy from there and I'll be excited to work on something on the weekends. So for me, that's a natural thing. But I guess I'm also like grateful to like the SuperOps team, especially
Mm-hmm.
like Jay and Arvind, like the founders, because they've always been openly encouraging of side projects. They've never approached it from an angle that, hey, you should probably focus more on, because they understand that like whatever keeps people happy, like you just have to let them do it. So I think
Right.
that's definitely an added advantage for me. But in terms of time management, I just make sure that the main what I'm supposed to do gets done. So my core working hours for the side project is usually 6 to 8 in the morning. So
Right.
I wake up, get a couple of hours work in, and then like get to work by 8:39. So like that the entire day. And once I come back, because I'll be low on energy, I try to prioritize some of the organization that doesn't require a lot of creative energy. So I think it's also about optimizing these things, where like identifying the high times and making sure that you kind of stuff all your creative work there, and keep your evenings like for different things. And one more thing that helped me is the organization system that I have. So I have a
Mm-hmm.
really that evolved over time, a good productivity stack, where all my tasks go, I make sure that I don't forget anything and all the little things go there. So I try to like organize it in a way that I operate efficiently, which I think over the long term definitely pays off.
Oh yeah, the Ali Abdal inspiration
Oh yeah.
in the mafia, whole productivity mafia. Awesome. No, I think it just goes to show people that I mean it's really is possible to do this if you can take control of your time. Because a lot of people will be like they'll do 9 to 5 and they're like I don't have any time for anything else in my life, and leave alone building a product and putting it out. But it's insanely cool, at least for people like me who's always thinking about what could we do next and all that. I just have like a few small questions
Mhm.
for you. So when you're starting your career, what do you think is a lot more important, focus or curiosity? And I'm wantonly putting this as an option because I want you to pick one, and
Pick
then
one. Okay.
yeah, and
Yeah, I
I
think
know
my
both are important, and that's a very politically right answer. But what's more important?
okay. I would have to say focus, because
Hmm.
you cannot satisfy your curiosity early in your career,
Right.
because you will like you cannot pursue everything you're curious about early in your career. So
Hmm.
but focus is something that is absolutely necessary, because if you're when you're early in your career, you're mostly handed things.
Right.
You don't get to chase. I mean, that's just the truth, right? Like when you're starting
Right.
out, you don't have a lot of options, and you can't expect the people that you work with or team that you work with to understand that you're curious about things and work with you. If it happens, you're lucky. So I would say focus on whatever is on your plate. And yeah, I think that's the if I had to pick one from two, that would be, maybe try to be curious about that, but it
Right.
doesn't work like that, but still.
Okay. So what's one hack that has worked for you in your personal and your career growth?
Mm, okay. I think what has really worked for me is acting. I'm a very impulsive person. Like when it comes to anything,
Right.
I just don't think. But it's not a hack. So I think if it was a hack, like just not caring about what people think, right? Like the
Right.
embarrassment factor in terms of, okay, if I post this on social media, what would my colleagues think? What would people think? So because most of the people that you meet, especially early in your career, are not gonna be with you for a long time. So
Mm.
optimizing for them, optimizing for what they think and what they would do, be it your colleagues, be it your team, or be it your college friends or whoever, is actually it doesn't make any sense, because worst case they'll probably send you a message, or they'll probably
Right.
leave a very insensitive comment, but that's pretty much it. I think, because again, I'm saying this because I spent a lot of time on social media, even during the early times of my career, and I did get a lot of hey, what you're posting is not it's not very cool or
Right.
anything, but I just didn't care. I think that
Right.
worked for me. So I don't know if it's a hack, but I would say just let go of that embarrassment when it comes to professional stuff, because if you don't try, you won't know. And for you to try, you need to not worry about what people think.
Right. Awesome. And I think an even better way to put that is it's like you have to be okay with being misunderstood. And it's really funny because we're not really trained that way from a young age
Yes.
to understand all that. And then the small example from that everybody could relate is when you maybe like miss an assignment or
Mm-hmm.
forget to bring the political map for the social class, and then you're like nervously flittering until that period.
Yeah.
Okay, what is going to happen? And the teacher comes in and sometimes forgets it, and you're like, okay, I'm just so relieved. So we kind of like tend to obsess that uh, other people have so much time to think about us.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes. Yes.
but
I
that's
think that's
really
that.
not true.
That's why I keep
Uh,
going back to this thing of like your our system, because it's
right,
very important. You spend 20 years in a system that conditions you to behave in a certain way. It
right,
rewards certain behaviors, it punishes certain behaviors, and
right,
suddenly you're out of that system and you behave the same way, but then the rewards and like punishment is different. Like things that
right,
you're rewarded for, you get punished for. Things that you get
right,
punished for, you get rewarded for. It
right,
takes a lot to reverse, unlearn what you've gone through for 20 years, and the sooner you get there, the better. So it
right,
is completely okay for you to go through that learning curve and go through that pain, because it's not your fault. Like 20 years you spent doing something, and that's how you're wired to think. So like things that are obvious, because you've been through this journey, you have to unlearn and relearn. So I
got
think
it.
that's very. I would say more than like I wouldn't like blame someone if they behaved in a certain way, because it's not their fault. The system kind of conditioned them to behave that way.
Right. How do you build trust in your workplace? Because and I chose to ask this to you personally because again, you've dabbed with multiple things and you've grown. Eventually, you are at a stage wherein people are allowing you to go and build something, and you are doing that as well, right? And that happens only because people trust you.
Yep.
You spoke about Arvind J and all
Mm-hmm.
that. They know that okay, even if this guy goes out and builds something, it's really going to impact SuperOps in a very good way because he's creatively evolving, and he's meeting a lot of people and all that. So how do you build that trust? And I think it's
Uh,
really important.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And the thing with trust is it compounds over time. So I think
Right.
that is important. So I'll probably like talk about my journey and like use this
Mm.
example. So like when I started out, I think even in Capgemini, right? The quicker you show results, like the faster
Mm.
you can build trust, and you kind of supplement your results with good relationship skills. So these are
Mm.
two things that are important. So to kind of illustrate, when I was at Capgemini, I was like, because I used to volunteer with Make a Difference, I'd
Right.
already learned a lot of like soft skills that you would learn when you get to office. So I had already learned that and Make a Difference. I was already ahead of like ahead of most of my peers who were probably coming into their first job. So
Right.
that like enabled me to show results, and because I had a good relationship, I was like kind of doing well. And even at Freshworks, I spent like my first 6 months as pre-sales was a good time. Like I closed deals, I did good demos and all that. So after that, when I was writing blogs, or after that when I was applying to conferences to speak, they had no problem in approving that, or they had no problem in like allowing, not technically allowing, but then encouraging me to do that, because I already proven with results. So,
Mm.
and the same thing happened in product marketing, right? So I joined Arvind's team at Freshworks, and like after that I joined SuperOps, and I said I wanted to be a product manager. I had no experience, but then
Here's your reminder.
okay, my Alexa's acting up.
No issues, no
So
issues.
after that, he had no problem in like letting me pursue my interest, because I had proved
Mm.
like what I could do. I think the moment you start showing results, that will increase your trust, but that only that is not enough. You still need to
Mm.
have good relationship with people for it to kind of compound over time, because like people at the end of the day, trust, you earn it only from people. It's not from like anything that is not a living thing, right? So you earn it from people. So it's important to foster that relationship as well, for you to build on top of the trust. So I would say
Mm.
results, and like invest in relationships.
Awesome. You already shown a process. That's good. For some people who are just listening to this from a third person perspective, it'll be mind boggling because I was just having a conversation half an hour ago with another friend of mine. And I said, hey, I'm going to talk to this guy who's building Supermeme while working at SuperOps and a really cool product and all that. And he says, bro, do companies allow that? How is he working on something else while working at a so it's really like you mentioned. I think the whole system is has conditioned you that way to think like that. But I think there's a whole cultural shift that's happening very slowly with the startup revolution and all
Definitely.
that. People are a lot more open to empowering their own people, creating wealth for them, and allowing them to do whatever it is
Yeah. No, I
that
think
makes them. Yeah.
that is important. It's important to call it out, because like you said, right, this is not, I mean, for me, I never thought about it like that, because like all the people that I worked with in my career have never approached side projects or approached like something like that. For example, Arvind's always been encouraging of anything I do outside of work. Be it like back then I used to post a lot of memes, even when I was working in product marketing, right? I used to post a lot of IT memes, and he was always like very encouraging of that. I think it's important to kind of not make a big deal and not just kind of allow it, but also encourage it, because only then you have the psychological safety to try different things even at work. So you just need to give people that room to try different things, and let's say, and they will find ways to kind of have a symbiotic relationship where it will benefit you as well and the company. So I think people are missing a trick if they are not if they're restricting this behavior. But I'm glad that I'm like with leaders who think differently. So I'm happy.
Awesome. And I'm just going to leave you with one last question. I don't know if it's maybe out of like a Pandora's box, but I think a lot of us tend to obsess with instant gratification. Like we want results quickly. We look up to people who are making, I don't know, building 200 million startups at IPs. And we think, okay, why not us? And then we try something. And I also read something that goes like, you first start by doing what is necessary, then you do what's possible, and you're already doing the impossible. But we kind of like tend to skip the first two steps, and we just shoot right at what is the impossible, and then we say we want to do it, and it flops out. And then there's a whole stages of mental evolution that happens that's very deteriorating in a lot of people's minds. They feel like, okay, I'm stuck with a 9 to 5 job. There's nothing for me in it. I'm not able to build out. I'm very, very low on energy. But I think one main factor that has probably enabled you to do and achieve whatever you have done is that you've got to be innately happy about what you're doing, and you've got to be like very grateful of the opportunities that you get and all that. Just leave us with talking about that.
Nice. That's actually a pretty deep question, but I think about this a lot, right? So again, I'm going back to the system. Like when you're growing up, you're in school and college, the need to compare starts there. Like you have the rank system, and it matters where you stand in the class. Right? Are you in the top 10? Are you in the top 5? What did your friend get? And what did like this person in the other section get? So that need to compare is actually baked in, because like our schools and colleges kind of like embed that in our heads. So there is that effort to unlearn it. So that's not easy. So that has to happen. So like when people are now, and that is one part. The second part is social media. People are like posting a lot of things out there, and it's like it's no one's fault. Like they have access, like they have the rights to post whatever they want. And when you consume a lot of information, it definitely will get to you. Like there's no surprise if it doesn't get to you. But I think beyond that, there is a mindset shift within you that has to happen, where you are not aiming for results, but you're aiming for action. I think that is the mindset shift that will kind of take you to happiness. The moment you optimize, for example, like my goal is to post one video per week. That's what I started. Like when I started posting videos, I just wanted to post one video every Sunday. The first 8 weeks, I just posted every Sunday. It so happened that I posted content that people liked, and it got me reach. Now I'm obviously like I will be lying if I say I don't care about likes. I definitely care. Like I go on LinkedIn, I check every 5 minutes to see if the likes have increased. I'm not lying. But I acknowledge that it's an outcome. It's not my goal. Like I'm not posting to get 1,000 likes. But if it happens, it makes me happy. Like I'm not gonna lie that I don't care how many likes I get. So that mindset shift of like focusing on the action, because this also comes from the whole Stoic philosophy, right? If you're going to put your happiness in things that you can't control, it's very hard to be like there might be times where something happens and suddenly like the algorithm boosts your post, you get 10,000 likes, you're extremely happy. You do that the next week, nothing happens, and you're sad. So you can't let either happen. You can't be superly happy because something like that is outside of your control happened, nor be extremely sad. So you have to kind of control put your happiness in things that you control. So I think that is the key, where you're, especially in the world of social media. I keep going back to social media because again, that's the world that I know well compared to others. It is random. Like you cannot predict. Like there's no formula to say that if I post it at this time with this caption with this amount of words, it's gonna get. It's impossible. No one knows how the algorithm works. So just focus on sharing good content, and treat everything else as an outcome. If it happens,
Right.
it happens. Otherwise, just go back and do what you have to do. So that's kind of what I have on this.
Awesome. And I think, at least personally, I've started to observe with a lot of people that I interact with, who are actually, into the prospect of creation. They're just building something. And I think it's safe to say that, no unhappy or very stressed founder can actually go out and build like a really cool company or a brand because, hard work, hustle, and all those, bust things aside, everybody works hard. But all of these people who go out and do really, really cool things, build insane stuff, in spite of their hard work, they're very happy with whatever it is that they're doing. They're grateful and all that, and that's why maybe I just wanted to ask you this at the end. But yes, I think that brought us to the end of this show. Pretty short and sweet, but I loved the whole interaction. Thanks, Sans, for your 30 minutes, and I think we'll probably get back to doing a lot more when I don't know, you guys raise like a series A or something, and Supermeme. I really hope it grows so much as well because it's insanely cool. So
Thank you,
thank
Nitish.
you so much.
Yeah, love this
Um,
conversation, dude. Yeah, so thank you, and I'm glad that we finally got around to doing this.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, cool. See you then.
Cool.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Nitish.